What's up, everybody, and welcome to the SGN Podcast. I'm your host, Diego Call, and today we're going to be talking all about the UFC last night, and in particular one fight, because I'm not going to lie to you guys, all right? When these cards take place, they take place at lately with the ESPN at 2 in the morning, and at that time I was watching the Golden State Warriors take on the Houston Rockets, and I didn't really have any intention of watching what I would consider kind of a bullshit card last night, so I just watched the main event between Donald Cowboy Cerrone and Iaquinta. And coming into this fight, I was actually I'm not going to say I was extremely excited. I wasn't even that hyped about it. But anytime Cowboy fights, I'm excited because, he's one of my favorite fighters of all time. And he's just one of the baddest motherfuckers you could ever see walk the face of the earth. When he gets roasted, he kind of collapses. But when he's on, that dude is a fucking savage. And just in general, I love his personality. I love his lifestyle. I just love in general how fucking real he is. And I'm always gonna watch a Cowboy fight. It doesn't matter who he's taking on. I will watch Cowboy fight. So definitely I was rooting for him. That's not a secret. And I'm not a huge fan of Iaquinta either. You know, there's just something about him I don't really appreciate too much. Like even back when I think it was he was complaining about the UFC not paying a lot of money and stuff like that, which is of course 100% something I get behind. But then he went ahead and he destroyed a couple of hotel rooms, and it's like. So let me get this straight, okay? You're complaining about the UFC not paying you a lot of money, which means you clearly are having financial issues, which, listen, I can back you 100% up to this point, but you destroy a hotel room, which means that's probably going to come out of your pocket because I don't think the UFC is going to pay for you. So you're just doing yourself damage because the UFC is going to say, fuck you. You're not even our employee. You're an independent contractor. So, yeah, I don't really like Iaquinta for that reason. I don't have any beef with him as a person. I just think that he makes some stupid decisions, and I'm not even a huge fan of him as a fighter. So, of course, I'm supposed to be kind of objective here, but I'm just being honest. But whenever Cowboy fights, I'm going to root for him. He is definitely one of my favorite fighters, and that's just the way it is. Anyway, going into this fight, I was expecting it to be a lot closer than it actually turned out to be, because if you think about Iaquinta, his boxing is pretty good, his sprawl game is pretty good, and he's just a really good sprawling boxer. He's a sprawling brawler. He's nothing special and anywhere really when it comes to mixed martial arts, but he's definitely pretty solid. And he's a guy that through his grit and just pure toughness, he can usually make fights pretty competitive and keep himself in there. And of course, he did a pretty good job of not getting knocked out by Cowboy because he got hit by a huge knee, I think, early on. He got hit by a front kick that was just beautiful, absolutely perfectly placed. And then, of course, he ended up on the ground with Cowboy on top of him and mount, but he was able to sprawl out, to scramble out of that, and did a very good job of surviving. I'll give him that. There's absolutely nothing you can say about Iaquinta's toughness. He is 100%, pure grit and just pure fucking savage. There's just nothing about him that you can say that's going to deconfirm that. Whether or not he came in there with a good game plan, I don't know about that. That's just, it's just not easy because, if you think about Iaquinta, what's his game? Keep the fight standing and just brawl the shit out of you. What's Cowboy's game? Kick the shit out of you. You know what I mean? So it's just that's just the way it is. If you stand in front of Cowboy and don't have good movement and you don't pressure him, you're in for a very, very, very bad night because he's gonna beat the holy hell out of you. And that's what we saw. If Iaquinta had been moving a little bit more, had maybe put more pressure on Cowboy, circled a little bit more, but put him towards the cage like a lot of people did, like Darren Till, like Jorge Masvidal. If we see him employ that kind of a game plan, of course, those are much bigger guys than him, has to be said. But you see a guy like Javier dos Anjos, what he did to him. There are ways to beat him. You just have to be in his face, pressuring him at all times. And you can kind of get him out of his element. And you will, possibly beat him. He's definitely not easy to beat, but there are ways to beat him. Iaquinta definitely didn't do that, which is kind of surprising because Iaquinta, like I said, that's his thing. He's in your face. He frustrates you. He doesn't let you take him down. That's what his game plan is. And then he lands heavy-handed shots on you. I think one beautiful thing that Cowboy did to start off the fight was landing some huge leg kicks that really just kind of damaged Iaquinta and kind of made it to where he wasn't able to pressure him as much as he wanted to. And I think that kind of maybe took out some confidence as well because let's just be real. Iaquinta, if it wasn't for his toughness, would he be competing with the highest level fighters? Realistically, no. That's not an insult. That's just facts. We saw what happened to him against Khabib, and he actually had one of the better fights, one of the better performances that Khabib's opponents have had. He did better than Conor McGregor. He did better than Edson Barboza. He did better than all these high-level fighters. I think the only guy you could possibly say did better than him was Michael Johnson. That's because Michael Johnson landed one good shot. But, realistically, he did a pretty good job. He survived. He survived, and of course he got dominated, but he survived. So, I mean, he didn't do much with that survival, but he still survived. So hats off to him for that. But going against a guy like Cowboy, who's going to just, he's got phenomenal Muay Thai. And as the fight goes on, he gets better and better. And we saw that. Early on, he's always kind of stiff. His movement's not very good. He's just very hittable. And Iaquinta just wasn't really able to do much with it. He landed a few good shots here and there. But at the end of the day, Cowboy put on just stellar performance as always. Or not as always, but as classic Cowboy does. And he really did earn himself, in my opinion, a shot against Conor McGregor. I'm not going to say that he deserves a title shot because, as of right now, of course, Dustin Poirier, he needs to fight for the title. He needs to unify against Khabib, the interim title. One of those guys has to be the champion, and then from there, I think that the winner of that should take on the winner of Cowboy versus Conor McGregor. Will that happen? Who the fuck knows? Because let's just be honest, the UFC is all about making money. So if the biggest fight for them to make is Conor versus Khabib, and I'm a huge Conor fan. I don't want to see that fight. Not because I don't think he has a chance in hell of winning the rematch. I think that he, if he does some things differently, he doesn't fight, a very defensive fight, and he has a chance. He has a puncher's chance as always. If you use better movement, then there is a chance. I'm not one of those guys who sits there and thinks that he has zero chance. I think that there's a chance there, but I don't think that he deserves it. He got absolutely just demolished. He got dominated everywhere the fight was. He won one round. And for the most part, he got nothing but tortured. So I just don't see how he deserves a title shot as of right now. And if they do give it to him, it's not because of a sports-related thing. It's a money thing. It's a money thing. And Dustin Poirier is the interim champion. Make him fight, or not make him, but have him fight Khabib Nurmagomedov. Both of them want that fight. And then the winner fights the winner, Cowboy versus Conor McGregor. I think that's the biggest fight that they can do apart from a title shot for McGregor. I definitely don't want to see him fight Dustin Poirier for the interim title because, like I said, that just kind of takes away from what Poirier did. Because if they do that and let's just say Conor wins, we're just back to square one. So I want Poirier to fight for the title, and I want Cowboy to fight against McGregor because let's just be honest, Cowboy, he has the record for most wins in the UFC history. He has the record of most finishes in UFC history. Whether it's submissions or knockouts, he can do it all, and he always goes out there to fight. He doesn't go out there to play points fighting, which I'm fine with. I'm fine with people doing that, but he does exactly what the UFC wants. He goes out there and he fucking goes for it 100%. Whether he wins or he loses, he goes for it 100%, and that's all they can ask from a guy in the UFC. That's what they want, and Cowboy has done that countless times. He has how many fights? How many pro fights? Like 60 or something like that? Over 60? That's insane. That's just absolutely insane. So, I mean, he deserves it. He deserves this huge money fight. Conor McGregor, he needs to get himself back into contention. And by beating Cowboy Cerrone, that's exactly what he does. If he can beat Cowboy, he is right there, back in the mix, getting himself a title shot. But he has to beat Cowboy first. I don't want to see any of this stuff where the interim champion, once again, is postponed and all that bullshit where they strip the interim champion and none of that stuff actually turns out to matter. I want to actually see them, for once, do something that makes sense with the interim champion. If not, then it's even more of a shit show than the UFC's already been for the past couple of years. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Cowboy versus Conor, they both deserve it because they both are top level strikers who need to fight each other basically to put themselves inside the top 5. But most importantly, this is an opportunity for Cowboy, who has done so much for mixed martial arts, who has done so much for the UFC in general as a company, to really get a huge payday. All right, ever since he had a kid, ever since he had Danger Cerrone, you can kind of see he's kind of I'm not going to say he's a changed man, but I think that he has what's important a lot more in focus. Before, his whole thing was, make enough money to kind of do all the crazy shit he wants to do, move on to the next thing, drink a lot, and not really focus on winning the title. He even said it recently. Now he's focused on winning the title, and I can't remember who it was that said it, but they had a fair point. If you aren't focused on winning the title for the first 20 years of your career, however long you've been fighting, then you kind of had your priorities all in the wrong way, in the wrong order. So I mean, as of right now, I think that Cowboy realizes, look, he only has a certain amount of time left in the sport. He needs to, hopefully win the title, but if he's not able to do that, at the very least, make as much money as possible. And if he fights Conor McGregor, that's, of course, going to be a huge payday for him. That's something that I really want to see for Cowboy. So I want to see that fight happen. I mean, definitely let me know in the comment section, guys, what you want to see happen, not just between, in terms of the interim title situation. Do you want to see Dustin Poirier fight Cowboy? Do you want to see him fight Conor? Do you want to see him fight Khabib? What do you want to see happening over there? But most importantly, what do you want to see next for Cowboy? Do you want to see him fight Conor? I think that's about the biggest fight they can do. I think that's the most interesting fight for the fan point of view as well, because we're going to see a guy like Conor McGregor take on an elite striker. We've seen him, of course, against Floyd Mayweather. That was boxing. That's a completely different thing. We want to see Conor in mixed martial arts taking on an elite striker. Who have we really seen him fight that was an elite striker? I guess you could say Jose Aldo, but that fight ended in 13 seconds. Nate Diaz is an elite striker, but he's a pure boxer. And of course, those were two very, very, very fun fights. Whether it was Conor getting submitted or Conor winning a very, very close decision, and really, just showing that he has the heart. And you can say what you want, but in that fight, he kind of showed that he has heart. I want to see him fight against a guy like Cowboy, who's elite as a Muay Thai fighter, much like Jose Aldo, but in a very different way. Somebody who has a similar, if not longer, reach than him when it comes to kicks, when it comes to his boxing. See him against somebody like Cowboy, who has the leg kicks, who has that typical Muay Thai style like Jose Aldo does, but somebody who's not going to get knocked out in the first 15 seconds, or at least you would expect them not to. Of course, that's actually kind of interesting, because if you notice, throughout Cowboy's career, the people that give him the most issues are the people that roast him. So if he goes against Conor, who really talks a lot of shit about him, that might be a disaster for him. But I don't know. That's the fight I think that should happen. That's the fight that I think that Cowboy absolutely deserves. That's the fight that I just think that the UFC needs to make. So let me know in the comment section down below, guys, what you think. Thank you so much for listening. Check out all the other episodes that's going to be coming out very, very soon, whether it's soccer or football, whatever you want to call it, whether it's NBA. Check out whether it's video games, Mortal Kombat. Check all that stuff out if you're interested. Thank you so much, guys, for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.